Dear students, we have been discussing about political theory. Today is the fourth day. In the first class, we discussed about what is theory, what a theory contains, how many statements it contains. Today we are going to learn about the nature of political theory. What is the need to study about the nature of political theory? When you study nature, for the last in the last three classes we learnt about what is political theory, but even then it is not enough to understand what exactly is the political theory. Generally what happens in social sciences, you cannot have an ultimate or single view or single perception of what is political theory, but but when we learn its nature, because nature means in the sense we have to understand the concept of political theory and its relation to other closely related topics, closely related terminologies which we often use, and also how political theory is distinct from those closely related concepts. That is very important. When we know the nature of political theory, we are in a position to know more and more its meaning with relation to the closely related concepts, and also how political theory is different from other closely related terminologies. The first political theory, how far political history, how far history is important in developing a political theory, and also in understanding a political theory, and how political theory is different from history. And also we have to know about political philosophy. What is political philosophy, and how it is related to political theory, and how political philosophy is different from political theory. And also we should know what is political science, how political science is different from political theory. We learned something about this in the last few classes, but today we will specifically know about what is political science and how it is different from political theory. And also we should know about political thought. What is political thought? Often we hear this concept in your in the next semester classes. You have a separate paper on political thought, and also political ideology. What is political ideology? We often use ideologies, so many ideologies. So how political ideology is different from political theory, and when we know all these concepts, we are able to know exactly what exactly is political theory, and also its nature. We will be able to understand the nature of political theory when we have an understanding of these closely related concepts. And then you have now let us start. What is history? Political theory and history. As you all know, history is the record of past events, and how past events, you take any particular point in history, the events that happened in the history have an influence on political theory, and also political theory in turn is developed out of the circumstances, historical circumstances, and historical events, they shape and reshape political theory. So historical events had a great influence on the development of the political theory, and also political theory is closely related, and also is closely influenced by the historical events and historical circumstances. So we have a great saying in relation to history and political science. Political science or political theory without history is rootless, and history without political theory is fruitless. What does it mean? When you study history, you have been studying history since your childhood days, but many events, many wars or many events, you just know about those events. But what exactly is the reason for such events? You are not able to comprehend them because you are lacking, the knowledge of political theory. When you have lacking, when you lack the political knowledge, you are not able to understand historical events, many historical events. And political science without history is rootless. When if you take any political theory or political thought of any political scientist without knowing the history, you are not in a position to understand political concepts. There are many political theories and concepts that are developed out of historical events, especially Western events, Western history. The history of Western society was the reason for the emergence of many concepts in political theory. You take, for example, liberty and equality. The liberty and equality were the concepts they emerged out of American War of Independence, and French Revolution, which happened in late 18th century. So the events in history and the development of political theory are very closely related. It is through history that political theory explains what is what. Concepts such as liberty, justice, equality, obligation has evolved through the annals of time, are being held high by political theory today and shall continue to be so in future. Similar is the case with many political thinkers and ideas. So we have to understand that history will enable you to know the events, about events, and based on those events, political theories and political scientists developed many concepts like justice, liberty and equality. And also the political thinkers, who developed political theory, were influenced by the events that took place in the history. So that is the influence of the history on the development of political theory. But they are closely related. History and political theory are closely related to each other. But that doesn't mean that as Sabine said, history is political theory. But all history is not political theory, just as all political theory is not history. Because political theory is not merely history, and based on history, based on historical events, political theory gets developed. It is also a science and also a philosophy. So more than history, political theory is also a science and philosophy as well. So this is how we should understand the relation between history and political theory, and also distinction. The distinction is that history is merely the record of events, whereas political theory, they go beyond the explanation of the historical events. It is also a science and also a philosophy. So that is how we should understand the relation and distinction between history and political theory. Then the another important concept with relation to political theory is political theory as a science. How far political theory is a science? Often we call political science. How political theory is a political science? Science involves three important steps. It contains three very important aspects. Observation. So science is based on the inquiry. Scientific inquiry is based on observation of the political, social and economic events through our sense organs. we observe through our sense organs, by hearing, by seeing, by smelling, by tasting. These are the sense organs. Through these sense organs, we are able to observe the phenomena that is taking place around us. And generalizations. When you observe a particular phenomena, there are regularities. Certain aspects are, certain aspects taken place in patterns. So those regularities we will be able to observe, and based on those regularities we will try to generalize, or we will try to propose general rules, and then explanation. Based on the facts and observation, you try to explain the phenomena with the reasons, causes and reasons. And when you explain when you explain a phenomena, you are able to predict as to how it is going to be in the future, and what is the problem that is afflicting with, and you are in a position to prescribe. So when you observe an event and you generalize and you try to explain it, and when you explain it, you are able to understand, you are able to predict how it is going to be in the future, and you are also in a position to know the exact reason for its happening, and also you can prescribe, you can suggest as to what we should do about that phenomena, about that particular phenomena. So this is science. So science involves these important steps: observation, generalization, explanation, the prediction and prescription. So now let us see how far a political theory is a science. See, the Arthur Bentley, George Catlin, David Easton, Robert Dahl were the great political thinkers who emphasized and said that political theory is a science. How political theory is a science? How far it is a science? See, especially the behavioral revolution that took place during 50s and 60s, exemplifies behavioral approach, exemplifies the scientific approach to the study of politics. What is behavioral approach? See, in behavioral approach is an approach which dissolved the political institutions into systems and processes. So instead of emphasizing the institutional aspects of the political system, the behavioral thinkers started emphasizing on the systems and processes, how they behave, how attention was on behavior of political actors, because you can study scientifically, you can study a phenomena as it is, how it is. So the emphasis was on political theory as a science generates neutral, dispassionate and objective knowledge in understanding a political phenomena, because only the possibility of scientific study is with regard to the activities or the actual behavior. So what actually a phenomena is, for that you need so many scientific tools and methods. So the behavioralists emphasized on so many methods and tools of studying a phenomena. So the role of science in political theory should be limited to the extent that it helps in understanding a political phenomena. So just what is the political phenomena? For example, in the last classes I gave you an example: authority. See, authority, you can understand who are the people exercising authority, how much of authority is being exercised, that we can know scientifically. So the scientific part of inquiry should be confined to only and in understanding a political phenomena. A political theory also includes, but political theory, you know, mm, does not end there. Political theory also includes evaluation based on values through philosophy. So here philosophical aspect is also very important. See, knowing a phenomena through scientific methods is known as scientific study, but knowing a phenomena is not enough. But we should understand that phenomena from the point of view of the priorities of the society, the need for good life, the need for community good. So when we have that priority, when we have those values, then the understanding of a phenomena becomes becomes it gives whole picture, and it provides a kind of direction. So we need a philosophical approach, not only scientific approach. So that is how post-behavioralism or post-behavioral approach insisted on making the achievements of political science subservient to human values and ends. So philosophical part is also important. Now let us see, after knowing the political theory as a science, how far political theory is a science. Political theory is a science so far as it confines itself to the study of a phenomena as it is, with so many methodologies and so many tools. Now let us see how political theory, how far it is a philosophy. So political theory as a philosophy. That political theory is a philosophy has been enunciated by scholars like Leo Strauss and Sabine. Philosophy, of course, is an abstract study. See, abstract study, you should know the difference between concrete study and abstract study. Concrete study is study which is based on our sense organs. But whereas the abstract study is study that takes place in our mind. So it is inside the mind. So they are all abstract ideas. In Telugu we call, abstract means amurthamaina bhava. So that takes place in the mind. So the philosophy is an abstract study about the whole universe and the sum total of general laws governing the whole world. So it takes into consideration the larger picture of the phenomenon, and about morals, norms and values. So when we say philosophy, it is about general laws governing the whole world, and also morals. Human being is a moral animal. He has certain norms, he has certain values. Those are very important. So these are all evaluational. Philosophy is a kind of evaluation. Then the function of political philosophy is the clarification of concepts through interrelated steps. So what is the purpose of philosophy? Philosophy, what is its function? Its function is clarification of the concepts. There are so many concepts, people take them for granted, but they never evaluate. But here the concepts, the clarification of concepts takes place through three interrelated steps. First, analysis. So you have to know the different parts of a particular phenomena. So that is analysis. Different parts. You take a phenomena, and what are the parts? What are its parts? Constituent parts. You divide that phenomena into different parts. That is analysis. And then synthesize. You combine them with proper, logical relationships. You have to combine them. And then improvement of the concepts. When you analyze and synthesize, you are in a position to provide a better concept, a better understanding. So for example, you take democracy. Democracy is a concept or is a phenomenon. That phenomena for democracy means many people think that elections successfully election when elections are successfully conducted, then it is a successful democracy. Many people think that, even political leaders also, that they have got majority, and therefore they have every authority to do whatever they want. But democracy is not merely an electoral aspect. It goes beyond that. For example, reason discussion, and the empowerment of the people, and decision should be taken based on the wishes of the people, and people should participate. These are the important aspects of democracy. But when we look at from this angle, beyond the electoral politics, then we find so many lacunae or so many limitations in the functioning of the democracy. So then we can provide better concept, and we can advise, we can talk, we can advise the political leaders, we can advise the system that democracy merely doesn't mean electoral politics. It also means the involvement of the people, and also making the policies keeping in mind the wishes and necessities of the people. So that is real democracy. So that is how we can clarify the concept of democracy through philosophy. And the evaluational aspects are as important as factual aspects. The factual aspects are related to science, and evaluational aspects, values, norms, are related to philosophy. So here, for any political theory, these two are important. We should understand political theory as a philosophy and as a science. Both are very important. So that is how we should understand the nature of political theory. Then philosophy also differs from science in that science seeks explanation. Science tries to explain about a phenomena, what it is, while philosophy seeks justification. The term justification implies the attempt to give rational grounds for either accepting or rejecting the beliefs which we normally take for granted without any rational grounds. So that is how we should have to justify with a lot of rationality. So after having known about the political philosophy, and also political theory as a political thought, many people think that political philosophy is nothing but political thought. But there is a clear-cut distinction. If we know what is political thought, then we are able to understand the nature of the political theory. Political thought is the general thought about theories and values of all those persons, philosophers or any other person who think and write on day-to-day activities, policies and decisions of the state, and which have a bearing on our present living. So here political thought means they are the theories and values propounded by persons like political scientists and political philosophers about day-to-day activities, policies and decisions of the state and government. So they are the political thought. And political theory, political thought, they are time bound. Political thought is a time bound activity. We have different political thoughts. Western thought, Indian thought, ancient Western thought, medieval Western thought, modern Western thought, ancient Indian thought, medieval Indian thought, and modern Indian thought. They tell you about the time-bound nature of the ideas and of the values. So ancient political thought means the people who thought about the ancient events, political events. So they at that particular point of time, the thought was developed based on those historical events. So the political thought is time-bound activity about the day-to-day activities or policies and decisions of the state and government. Uh, so that is how political thought shows about a time-bound activity. It was a kind of time-bound activity. Uh, what is important about I said is time-bound nature of the political thought. So that is how we have so many thoughts of ancient, medieval, and modern political thoughts. Uh, Whereas political theory, on the other hand, is the speculation of a particular writer who talks specifically about the phenomena of the state. Here, political theory is a speculation of a particular philosopher, and also cutting across time, cutting across time and space. So this is the political theory. Theory provides a model of explanation of political reality as is understood by the writer. Political theory is explicit and may be detached from political reality of a particular period. So the time boundness is very important in understanding political thought. So there are certain theories, they they are developed cutting across space and time. So that is how political theory and political thought should be understood with some distinction. Then finally we have this is a very important concept, political ideology. What do you mean by ideology? Know how it is related to political theory. See, a set of ideas which are accepted to be true by a particular group without further examination. We have so many ideologies like liberalism, Marxism, socialism, Gandhiism, women, feminism, like that. There are so many ideologies, and one particular group of people have one ideology, another group of people have another ideology. What do you mean by ideology? Ideology means they are a set of ideas which are accepted to be true by a particular group without further examination. So they don't allow the critical examination. They discourage critical appraisal. They justify a particular system of power in society. For example, communism and liberalism or capitalism. These ideologies are quite different. And we have according to Germino and Sabine, political ideology is a negation of political theory, as it is based on subjective and unverifiable value preferences. See, political ideology is a kind of is a kind of acceptance, total acceptance of a particular set of ideas without subjecting them to scrutiny, without giving any opportunity for change. So therefore ideology sometimes is called as dogmatic because they don't change. But as a political theorist, political theorists should have dispassionate or without any prejudice should be able to speculate. So that is the main idea behind political theory. But political theory implies here dispassionate and disinterested inquiry. Here dispassionate means without having any prejudices, one should inquire a particular phenomena very objectively, without any prior notions, without any preconceived notions. As a science, political theory as a science describes the reality, a phenomena, without trying to pass any judgment. It tries to understand a political phenomena as it is, as a science, and as a philosophy. It prescribes rules of conduct which will secure the good life for all of society and not for certain individuals or classes. So philosophy takes into consideration the larger picture of the society or the larger benefit of the society. It talks about values. It based on those values, it evaluates the political phenomena. So it will provide a direction. Science will enable you. Political theory as a science will enable you to understand the reality as it is. But political theory as a philosophy will enable you to provide a direction, will enable you to have a larger picture of the phenomena, and also to have a direction to which you want that phenomena to go. And also these both are very important. Understanding a phenomena as it is important, and providing a direction through philosophy is also very important. So we have to understand political theory in relation to history, and in relation to ideology, in relation to philosophy, in relation to thought, political thought, because political thought is time-bound activity. There are different political thoughts. Those would provide you, enough ground for understanding a political theory, and also develop a political theory. So all these closely related concepts will help you to speculate on any political phenomena, and would result in a good political theory. So when we understand all these concepts, now we have been able to understand political theory in an integrated manner, in a wholesome manner. We are able to understand political theory. So in the previous classes, you try to understand what is theory, what is political theory, and now with the nature, when you inquire into the nature of political theory, that nature the nature is sought to be understood by way of understanding the closely related other concepts like political ideology, political philosophy, political science, political thought, and as a history. So from these important concepts, we have been able to understand political theory and its nature. This is a very important topic, dear friends. The nature of political theory is very important because it has enlightened us on different closely related topics, closely related terminologies. Thank you very much.